Hey everyone, welcome to another deep dive.
Yeah.
We're going to be unpacking a pretty hefty report today
Right.
that came across my desk,
Mhm.
the World China Made.
Okay.
And basically, this is all about taking a look at how successful
Yeah.
China's Made in China 2025 plan has been,
Okay.
or as they call it over there, MIC 2025.
Right. Yeah.
And so basically, we're going to be your guides as we sort of suss out, what this plan has meant
Yeah.
for, the future of global industries.
Well, and this report is not just, some dry academic thing.
Right.
It was put together by Senator Marco Rubio's office to really try and assess how China's ambitions
Right.
are impacting the rest of the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's got some weight behind it.
It's got some geopolitical weight behind it, for sure.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why we wanted to break it down.
Right.
We're going to look at what industries China is focusing on, how their attempts at innovation are stacking up, what this all means for the global economy.
A big deal.
Yeah, buckle up, because there's a lot to unpack here.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to try and answer some pretty big questions. Like, did they actually hit the targets that they set out to hit?
Right.
What does their, basically dominance in a lot of sectors mean for the rest of us?
All right. So maybe we should start with a quick overview of MIC 2025.
Yeah.
I mean, what was this plan all about?
Yeah.
I mean, it was launched in 2015
Yeah.
with the goal of making China like the, top global manufacturing superpower by 2025.
Hence the name.
Yeah, exactly.
Made in China 2025.
Yeah, and they really went for it,
They weren't shy.
Huge subsidies for key industries,
Yeah.
trying to replace imports with their own products,
Yeah.
setting these like really aggressive export targets.
Yeah.
I mean, it definitely caused a lot of concern internationally.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Talk about unfair competition, manipulating the markets.
Right.
But it's interesting, even though they've kind of downplayed MIC 2025 publicly.
Yeah, since what, like 2019, 2020?
Yeah, around then,
Yeah.
the core goals haven't really changed.
Right.
They just kind of repackaged it
Right.
with different slogans like, new quality productive forces.
Yeah.
But the focus
Yeah.
is still the same.
On manufacturing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And exports.
Right. So it's like the plan's still in motion.
Yeah.
Even if it's not like, the headline anymore.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Under the radar.
Okay, so how are they actually doing?
Well,
I mean, the report kind of paints a mixed picture, right?
it does. Yeah. There are definitely areas where China's like the clear leader.
Okay.
Then there are some where they've made a lot of progress but aren't quite there yet.
Okay.
And then there's some surprises where they've kind of fallen short of the goals.
Interesting. Okay, let's start with the wins.
Okay.
Where are they really calling the shots right now?
Well, electric vehicles.
Okay.
I mean, that's a huge one for China right now.
Okay.
They are dominating production and technology.
Yeah. I mean, I think...
They've even outsold Tesla at times.
Yeah, that's crazy to me.
Which is no small feat,
No.
given Tesla's brand recognition.
Yeah, and it's not just the volume
Right.
that I find so remarkable. It's the innovation.
Yeah.
Like BYD's blade battery technology is
Yeah.
changing the game in terms of safety and cost.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder how quickly other automakers can adapt.
I know, right? And this flood of these affordable Chinese EVs is impacting the entire global market.
Right.
It's pushing prices down,
Yeah.
forcing everyone to rethink their strategies.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's the case study in how quickly a determined player
Right.
can disrupt an entire industry.
Okay, so that's EVs. What else?
Well, another area where China is really winning
Yeah.
is energy and power generation, solar in particular.
Yeah, their dominance in solar
It's
is...
kind of mind-boggling.
It really is.
They control something like 80%
Yeah.
of the global solar energy supply chain.
Most of the world's solar panels are coming from China.
Yeah. I mean, think about that.
Yeah, it's amazing and also kind of scary.
It is.
Right.
I mean, on the one hand, it's driven prices way down,
Right.
which is great.
It makes it more accessible for everyone, right?
Exactly.
Mhm.
But on the other hand, it raises these questions about
Reliance.
relying on a single source.
Right. What happens if something happens?
Exactly.
Right.
And it's not just solar.
Right.
They're also leading the way in nuclear technology.
Really?
They've got the world's first fourth-generation reactor.
Wow.
Plus, they've invested heavily in this ultra-high voltage transmission network.
Okay.
It's the most extensive in the world.
Wow.
So they're thinking long-term
Yeah.
about their energy infrastructure,
Yeah, that's smart.
which obviously has huge implications for their economy
Yeah.
and their geopolitical influence.
Right. Yeah, it impacts everything.
Everything.
Okay, what else we got?
Well, we can't forget about shipbuilding.
Oh, yeah. Shipbuilding.
China's like the heavyweight champ.
Yeah.
I mean, they're outbuilding the U.S.
By a lot.
by a crazy margin.
It's pretty remarkable.
And it's not just, cargo ships.
Right.
They're producing aircraft carriers.
Wow.
LNG tankers, those big cruise ships.
Yeah.
So what does that mean for global shipping?
Yeah.
Trade routes?
Right.
Naval power.
It's a big deal.
Yeah, it's a huge development.
Yeah.
With a lot of geopolitical and economic implications.
Yeah. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that one for sure.
We are.
Okay, so we talked about the areas where they're like clearly dominant.
Yeah.
What about the sectors where they're not quite at the top, but
Right, where they're catching up.
and they're making progress?
Yeah, they're right behind the leaders.
Yeah, what's in that category?
Well, aerospace and aviation is a good example.
Okay.
I mean, they're not Boeing or Airbus yet,
Right.
but their state-owned aerospace company, Comac, has made some headway.
Okay.
Their C919 narrow-body jet,
Mm-hmm.
which is designed to compete with the 737 and the A320,
Right.
actually entered commercial service last year.
Oh, wow. Right.
But they still rely on foreign technology for some key components.
Oh, so they're not fully there yet?
Not quite.
Like what kind of stuff?
Well, the engines, for example,
Oh.
are still U.S. made.
Wow.
So it shows you how complex these global supply chains are.
Yeah.
And how interconnected everything is.
Yeah. I mean, it's a reminder
Yeah.
that even with their ambitions for self-reliance,
Right.
it's not so easy to achieve complete technological independence.
Yeah, and it's interesting, too,
Yeah.
because while they're still catching up in some areas of aerospace,
Yeah.
their space program has advanced really quickly.
Okay.
I mean, they've got a permanently crewed space station.
Wow.
They've got their own satellite navigation system,
Oh, wow. Okay.
that's competing with GPS.
So they're doing a lot in space.
They are.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm kind of interested in their advancements in biotechnology.
Oh, yeah.
It seems like they're moving beyond just generic drugs
Yeah, they are.
and pushing into developing, novel therapies and stuff.
Exactly. They're making some headway. Yeah, their genomics research capabilities are really impressive,
Oh, right.
thanks to companies like BGI,
Okay.
which is a major player in gene sequencing.
Wow.
But they still face challenges.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
What kind of challenges?
Well, attracting top talent
Oh, okay.
and reducing their reliance on foreign resources
Mhm.
for research and development.
Right. And there's always that concern
Yeah.
about intellectual property theft.
Yeah.
Right?
Must be an hour.
With Chinese biotech firms.
Right.
And that's created tension
It has.
with Western companies.
Yeah.
Like you want to collaborate,
Right.
but there's also that competition there.
Yeah, it's a tricky balance,
It is.
especially in a field with such high stakes.
Right. The potential is huge.
It is.
But so are the risks.
Yeah. And it really shows how China's pursuit
Yeah.
of this, technological advancement can create friction
Yeah.
and distrust internationally.
For sure. Okay.
Yeah.
What about new materials?
Oh, yeah.
Like the report mentions they haven't made any revolutionary discoveries,
Right.
but their sheer scale of R&D in material science
It's pretty impressive.
is impressive.
It is.
Right.
And what's fascinating is their focus
Mm-hmm.
on this steady, incremental progress
Yeah.
in developing key materials, particularly carbon fiber,
Okay.
which is crucial for all these other high-tech sectors,
Yeah.
aerospace, renewable energy.
Right.
And for example, they've had recent success mass-producing
Mm-hmm.
T1000 carbon fiber,
Okay.
which is a really high-strength material
You're right.
that was previously restricted because of its military applications.
Right.
And this could be a game changer.
Yeah. I mean, it shows their commitment to self-sufficiency in these strategic materials
Right.
and reducing their reliance on imports.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's new materials.
Mm-hmm.
What about robots and machine tools?
Okay.
This seems to be an area where they're really making a push.
They are, right.
I mean, I read that they're now the world's largest market for industrial robots.
They are.
And that in 2021,
Uh-huh.
they surpassed the U.S. in robot density,
Yeah.
meaning the number of robots per 10,000 workers.
Exactly. And that's because they're aggressively automating their industries.
Okay, so what's driving that?
Well, a few things.
Yeah.
Shrinking workforce,
Okay.
rising labor costs,
Okay.
and they just want greater efficiency and
Yeah.
precision
Yeah.
in manufacturing.
So they're thinking long term.
They are.
Right.
Big time.
I mean, I think it's interesting that they're pursuing this,
Yeah.
even though their labor costs are still lower
Right.
than a lot of developed countries.
Yeah, it seems like they're really preparing for a future
Yeah.
where automation is key to staying competitive.
Right.
And while they're still importing a lot of high-end robots.
Right. From like Japan, Switzerland,
right.
places like that.
Look at ABB.
Right.
Those guys.
Their domestic companies are growing fast.
They are.
Right.
Like my Idea Group, for example, acquired the German robotics giant QKI a few years ago.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, that was a big deal.
That sent some ripples through the industry.
It did.
And there are others, like Innovance. Right.
Another automation and robotics firm.
Okay.
And they have ambitions to be global leaders.
Yeah. They're coming up.
They are.
It seems like they're learning quickly.
Yeah.
And closing the gap.
Yeah, they're coming.
Okay, well, let's talk about semiconductors. I mean, this is a sector that's been, at the forefront.
Front and center.
Of a lot of these geopolitical tensions and technological competition.
For sure. Yeah, this is a landscape that's constantly changing.
Yeah.
I mean, China still lags behind the leaders, like TSMC in Taiwan and Samsung in South Korea, when it comes to making the most advanced chips.
Okay.
But they are making progress.
Despite sanctions and all that stuff.
Yeah, despite the U.S. sanctions and export controls. Yeah. It's pretty remarkable.
It is. Yeah. And, it's interesting to me that while they seem to struggle with those cutting-edge chips needed for, like, AI and high-performance computing, they seem to be poised to dominate the production of what they call legacy chips, which are still essential.
Oh, absolutely. For a huge range of products.
Yeah, cars to appliances, industrial equipment.
No, name it.
So it's like they might not be at the bleeding edge, but their control over these less glamorous but essential chips gives them a lot of leverage.
A lot of leverage.
Right.
Over global supply chains.
And they're also making strides in the assembly, testing, and packaging segment.
That's right. Which is becoming more and more important.
As chips get more complex.
Exactly.
So we've seen that their progress towards MIC 2025 has been pretty impressive.
It has.
In a lot of areas. I mean, they're dominating some sectors, gaining ground in others.
Yeah.
And even their struggles reveal, like, strategic thinking.
Long-term planning.
And planning.
Yeah.
But the report also highlights some areas where they haven't quite met their own expectations.
That's right.
Right.
And one that's kind of surprising is agricultural machinery.
That's surprising to me, considering how much the Chinese Communist Party emphasizes food security.
Yeah, you'd think.
You'd think they'd be all over this.
Right, making sure they're self-sufficient.
Yeah.
But they're not. The report shows that they haven't been able to develop globally competitive agricultural machinery manufacturers.
So they still rely on food imports.
They do.
Wow.
And their attempts to mechanize agriculture have run into some roadblocks.
Yeah, it seems like maybe the reality of building a competitive industry from scratch is harder.
Even with a lot of government support.
Than they anticipated.
Apparently.
Huh.
Yeah, and there's even been investigations into subsidy fraud.
Interesting.
Within the agricultural machinery sector.
So just throwing money at the problem.
Doesn't always work.
Doesn't always work.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this dependence on food imports could become a problem.
It could.
Especially as, geopolitical tensions are rising.
Exactly. It's a potential strategic vulnerability.
Right.
And it really raises questions about the limits of state-driven industrial policy.
Okay, so we've looked at some specific industries where they've had both successes and shortcomings. Yeah. But how do those connect to the broader goal of MIC 2025?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, they wanted to become a global innovation powerhouse.
Yeah.
Right? And their progress in EVs and solar suggests they're on the right track.
They are.
But what about the other goals, like smart manufacturing, branding, developing that, robust base
that strong foundation
of foundational industries?
Yeah, that's key.
Those are all big questions.
Yeah, and we'll dig into those next.
Okay, so let's dig into those broader goals.
All right.
Starting with innovation.
Yeah.
I mean, has China really become this global innovation powerhouse that they envisioned with MIC 2025?
It's a complicated picture.
Okay.
I mean, on the one hand, their capacity for innovation has definitely improved.
Okay.
I mean, they've climbed in those global innovation rankings.
Right.
And they're pouring money into research and development.
Yeah, and the report highlights this study by the Australian Strategic Policy Institute, ASPI.
That found that China now leads the world in producing high-quality research in a majority of these critical technologies.
It's pretty amazing.
Like artificial intelligence, robotics, energy storage, even areas with clear military applications.
Yeah. It's a wake-up call.
It is.
For other countries.
Yeah.
China's not just catching up anymore.
Right.
They're taking the lead.
In some of those important fields.
In some of the most important fields.
Yeah. And it's not just research papers.
Right.
Right? They're translating these advancements into actual products and applications.
Yeah, the speed at which they can do that.
That's remarkable to me.
It is. It's remarkable, and it sets them apart.
But is it all quantity over quality?
Well, that's the million-dollar question.
Right. Are they truly, like, pushing the boundary?
Yeah, are they coming up with, like...
of scientific knowledge?
Big new breakthroughs?
Or are they mostly just iterating on existing technologies?
That's a debate among experts.
I mean, their research output is huge.
Right.
But some argue that the quality of their patents...
Yeah.
and the number of really groundbreaking discoveries is still lagging behind.
So I guess we'll have to see what happens.
Let's have to wait and see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good segue, I think, to their goal of smart manufacturing.
Right.
Which is a term that...
it gets thrown around a lot.
Yeah. What does it actually mean in the context of China's industrial strategy?
It's more than just replacing workers with robots.
Okay.
Although that's part of it.
Right.
It's really about integrating digital technologies.
Okay.
Data analytics, automation, to create this, like, more efficient, flexible manufacturing ecosystem.
Okay.
So think like interconnected factories, real-time data analysis, predictive maintenance, being able to adapt quickly to changing demands in the market.
Right. So it's about responsiveness.
Responsiveness, exactly.
And this is where their investment in 5G comes in.
This is huge.
Right.
I mean, they've built the world's largest 5G network.
By far.
By far.
Right.
And that provides the backbone for all these smart manufacturing initiatives.
Okay, so it's all connected.
It's all connected.
The speed and low latency of 5G enables that, real-time data exchange.
Yeah, and remote control.
Right, so it's like the foundation.
Exactly, and it's not just theoretical. I mean, if you look at where a lot of the world's most advanced factories are, the answer is China.
It's China.
Yeah.
So they're not just adopting these technologies.
Right.
They're leading the way.
They're leading the way.
In implementing them.
Exactly.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
So what about their goal of strengthening their basic industry?
Right, those foundational materials.
Like steel and cement.
The building blocks.
The building blocks.
Of an industrial economy. Yeah. I mean, this is an area where China's dominance
is undeniable.
I
mean, their demand for these materials.
It's been insatiable.
It's crazy.
Driven by decades of this rapid infrastructure development.
I read somewhere that China uses as much cement in 2 years as the U.S. did in the entire 20th century.
It's mind-boggling.
It's mind-boggling.
The scale of their construction.
It's just incredible.
It's incredible.
And they're not just consuming these materials.
Right.
They're also the world's leading producer.
A world's leading producer.
Of steel and cement.
And that's given them some control.
Right.
Over global prices and supply chains.
But it's also created some challenges.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, the report mentions that their construction and real estate sectors are struggling.
With debt.
With huge debt burdens.
Right.
And overcapacity.
So they're having to restructure.
Yeah, they're having to kind of right-size those industries.
Yeah.
And they're looking to export.
More of these materials.
More of those materials.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's a reminder that even China's economic miracle isn't immune to the laws of supply and demand.
Okay, so their growth model
is evolving.
Is evolving.
They're going to need to find new sources of demand.
Yeah.
Both domestically and internationally.
Okay, so let's talk about branding.
Okay.
This seems to be an area where China has faced...
more challenges.
More challenges, right? Yeah. Despite their economic power, their manufacturing skills, they haven't really been able to build those globally recognized, trusted consumer brands.
That's true.
Right.
I mean, if you look at global rankings by revenue, Chinese companies are up there.
They're at the top.
But a lot of those are state-owned enterprises that haven't really focused on branding.
It's not been a priority.
It hasn't.
Right. They focused on scale and efficiency.
Right.
But not so much.
Not so much.
On those emotional connections with consumers. But there have been some exceptions, right?
There have been some.
I mean, like, Huawei.
So away.
TikTok.
BYD, BYD.
BYD. Yeah, they've achieved
some brand recognition.
Some brand recognition.
At least in certain markets.
Yeah.
So why haven't they been more successful?
Right. That's the question, given the size of their economy.
Right. You'd expect more.
You would. Yeah. Global brands.
Yeah. So what's going on?
Right.
Well, the report points to a few things.
Okay.
I mean, historically.
Yeah.
Their focus has been on manufacturing.
Right.
For other brands.
Yeah. Made in China.
Made in China.
As a label.
As a label.
Right.
Not a brand in itself.
Not a brand.
Right.
So they've excelled at being the world's factory.
Exactly.
But not necessarily at building your own brands.
Right. And that hasn't translated into consumers associating those brands.
With quality, innovation, all that stuff.
Desirability.
Right.
It's not there yet.
And then the report also suggests that some of their own actions have actually hurt their branding efforts.
Yeah, their history of intellectual property theft.
Yeah.
Cyber espionage.
Right.
Aggressive trade practices.
It creates a trust problem.
It creates a trust deficit.
Yeah.
It's hard to overcome.
Especially
in Western markets.
It's like their actions are speaking louder than words.
Yeah, they can have these slick marketing campaigns. Try to promote a positive image.
But ultimately, it's their behavior.
It's how they behave.
That matters.
That determines how people see them.
Yeah, so it's a perception problem.
It is a perception problem. Yeah. That goes beyond
the products themselves.
Just the quality of the products.
It's about building trust.
Right.
Showing that you're committed to fair play.
Transparency.
Transparency, yeah.
Okay, so we've covered a lot.
Right.
China's dominance in certain sectors. Their progress in others.
Yeah.
Their struggles with branding. Surprising shortcomings. In some areas,
Like agricultural machinery. It's a complex picture.
It's a complicated picture.
But what does it all mean for the rest of the world?
Right,
what are the key takeaways for our listeners?
Well, I think the first takeaway is that we're seeing a fundamental shift in the global economic and technological landscape. China is not just a low-cost manufacturing hub anymore.
Right.
They are a serious competitor in high-tech industries.
And their ambitions are only growing.
And they're only getting bigger.
Yeah. So this is a wake-up call.
It is a wake-up call.
For other nations.
Yeah.
We can't be complacent and just assume that our advantages are going to last forever.
Yeah. The world's changing.
The world is changing.
And we need to change with it.
Yeah, and I think this report kind of inadvertently highlights
it does.
Both China's strengths and some of their vulnerabilities.
Their weaknesses.
Yeah, and I think we should talk about those.
Yeah, I think we should.
What the implications are.
Definitely. We could maybe take a quick break.
Actually, you know what? I think we have enough time
to
just dive right in.
All right, let's do it.
Okay.
That's good.
Okay, so let's talk about those vulnerabilities.
Okay.
I mean, we've touched on a few.
Yeah, like the reliance on food imports.
Right. And their struggles with building those strong global brands.
Yeah. What else is there?
What else jumps out at you?
Well, despite all the progress they've made, they still rely on foreign technology in some really key areas, like semiconductors.
Semiconductors.
That's a prime example.
I mean,
they're doing okay in some parts of the chip industry.
Right.
But when it comes to those really advanced chips, for AI high-performance computing, they're still behind.
Right. And we were talking about SESMIC.
Yeah, their most advanced chip maker.
Right.
Still several generations behind.
Behind the leaders.
PSMC, Samsung.
Right.
And it's not just semiconductors either.
Oh, so there are other areas where they're reliant.
Their C919 aircraft, for example.
Oh, right. The one that's supposed to be homegrown.
Right, supposedly homegrown. Still relies heavily on American-made engines.
Wow.
Avionics.
So it's not truly homegrown.
Not real.
And even in aerospace more broadly.
Yeah, they're still playing catch-up.
Okay.
In areas like jet engine technology.
So even as they're striving for this technological independence,
self-reliance,
they're still vulnerable.
They are vulnerable
to all these disruptions.
Supply chain disruptions,
smart controls,
geopolitical tensions,
all that stuff.
All of it.
It's a tough spot to be in.
It is. It creates a dilemma for them.
Right.
I mean, they need access to these technologies.
To keep growing.
To keep developing.
Yeah.
But it also makes them vulnerable.
Right.
To pressure.
To pressure from other countries.
Yeah, it's a balancing act.
Yeah. It's a tightrope walk.
It is a tightrope walk.
It's interesting to watch how they navigate this.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what about their debt-fueled growth?
Right.
I mean, we talked about how all that infrastructure spending has led to this enormous debt.
Huge debt burden.
Could that come back to bite them?
It's a risk.
Yeah.
Economists are definitely worried about it.
I mean, what if their economy slows down?
Right. Or if there's a financial crisis.
That debt could become a real problem.
A major drag on growth.
Yeah.
Limit their ability to keep investing.
Right. In all these key industries.
Exactly.
So it's a reminder that even the most impressive growth isn't always sustainable.
No.
Right.
There are always costs.
Hidden costs.
Hidden risks.
Right. And then there's that whole branding challenge.
Yeah, we talked about that.
I mean, their efforts to build
global
brands
have been hampered by their own actions.
It's like they're getting in their own way.
They are.
Right? All the intellectual property theft.
The espionage.
Cyber espionage.
The aggressive trade tactics.
It's created this perception problem.
It has, and it's hard to shake that.
Right.
It's not just about marketing.
Actions speak louder than words.
They do.
Yeah, they can have those fancy campaigns. Try to spin a positive image.
But at the end of the day...
But it's their behavior that really matters.
Exactly how they act on the global stage.
Yeah.
That's what shapes people's perceptions.
Right. So it's about trust.
It is about trust.
Yeah.
It's about building a reputation.
Or quality.
Quality, reliability, ethical behavior.
Right. So it's more than just selling product.
It's about building a brand.
It's about building a brand.
About building a brand.
That people can trust.
Like Tease's Rise.
Yeah. It's aggressive.
It's complex.
It's complicated.
They've made progress.
They have.
But they also face challenges.
Significant challenges.
What does this mean for everyone else?
Yeah.
What does it mean for us? What does it mean for the U.S.?
How do we adapt?
How do we stay competitive?
In this new world order.
Right. Well, I think the first step is acknowledging that China
is a real competitor.
Is a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, we can't just ignore them.
No, and their strategy is working.
Right.
At least to a certain extent.
We can't be complacent. Pretend this is all going to go away.
It's not going away.
Right. This isn't about fear-mongering.
No.
It's about recognizing the reality.
Yeah, we need to be realistic.
And developing a response.
A strategic response.
Right. And it's not just about building walls around our own economy.
Oh, no, we need to be more proactive.
So what would that look like?
Well, for one thing, it means investing in R&D.
Okay.
Big time.
Yeah.
Especially in those critical technologies.
Where China is ahead.
Where China's pulling ahead.
Or catching up.
Yeah. We need to regain our edge.
In innovation.
In innovation.
Not just in breakthroughs.
Right.
But in our ability to actually apply them.
To turn those breakthroughs into real-world solutions.
So things like AI, quantum computing, biotech, advanced materials.
All those fields that are going to shape the future.
Yeah.
We need to be leading in those areas.
Okay.
And it also means strengthening our alliances with other like-minded countries.
So working together.
Working together.
To counter China's unfair practices.
Protect intellectual property.
Ensure a level playing field.
Yeah, this isn't about ganging up on China.
Right.
It's about creating a more stable, fair global trading system.
But that benefits everyone.
That benefits everyone.
And I think it's also about recognizing that competition and cooperation
aren't mutually exclusive.
Well, we can compete.
We can compete hard.
But also cooperate on shared challenges.
Exactly like climate change.
Global health.
Nuclear nonproliferation.
Right.
It's a delicate balance.
It is.
But it's essential.
Yeah.
One final thought.
Okay.
This report focuses on the economic and technological stuff. But we can't forget about the politics.
Oh, yeah.
The ideology.
I mean...
China's model of state-driven capitalism. Their authoritarian system.
It's a challenge to our values.
It is.
Right.
So as we think about how to respond to their ambitions, we also need to think about defending our values.
Yeah.
Making sure the world we're building
reflects those values.
Reflects our values.
So it's not just about economic or technological dominance.
It's about shaping the future.
In a way that aligns.
In a way that aligns with our vision.
Of a free.
And prosperous world.
It's a big challenge.
It is a huge challenge.
But we got to face it.
We do.
With clarity and courage.
And a commitment to our principles.
Yeah, this has been a fascinating deep dive.
It has.
Into the world China made.
A fascinating report.
Thanks for joining us.